Welcome back to the 101 Questions of AI. And today, Luca and I are going to talk about AI in psychology. So, we're going to see if AI is being applied in psychology, can it be applied, and what are they doing currently? So, first of all, I'm going to answer that first question. Yes. So, primarily, for now, AI is being used in counseling and health related concerns. So it's being used by therapists by providing accurate information on physical assessments. So, for example, it can track whether there's an increase in heart rate or temperature change depending on the response to challenging questions, right? So, in that sense, it can tell you, it can provide information whether a patient may be lying or may be uncomfortable with a certain line of reasoning or questioning, right? So then you can tell where are the issues. And then apart from that, it also helps make the entire thing much more efficient. So it records data, it manages the record keeping, and it can even trigger automatic follow-ups depending on the previous session for the therapists.
So there is this nice application of AI in the physical assessment, in the area of physical assessment. So extracting more physiological information from patients, from how they look like with cameras or with biometric devices that can measure the response to a certain stimuli, being a specific stimuli, a specific question, or a specific situation the patient is immersed in. Is that right, Michelle?
Yes. And then on the other part of that spectrum, so that's for diagnosis, right? And on the other part is actually where the treatment is. So there's this, what is it called? PTSD. So it's post-traumatic stress disorder. And what happens is if a person goes through a very traumatic experience, for a while after that experience, right? So this is the illnesses that usually the soldiers have when they return home. They're being triggered by really loud noises or the bang of a door, right? Because they were in a space or they were living in an area where there was a lot of this and where a bang precedes violence, right? So that could trigger them, and they'd have a course of adrenaline and it stresses their body out. Now, what is one of the ways that we can treat PTSD? So one of the ways that historically PTSD is being treated is through exposure therapy, right? So eventually, if you can control the situation, right? You expose the person slowly to the stimuli that is triggering them. And eventually, you will trigger something in their brain that will change the association and they will be much more comfortable with loud noises because they are able to break the association with violence into something that's a little bit more normal. Does that make sense? So that's that's a very brief explanation of PTSD. Now, how is AI being used to treat that? So currently, they have been trying to address PTSD with VR. So what happens is soldiers are immersed in this digital simulation of combat through 3D sounds, images and vibrations, and even the smell of what it feels like to be in the war zone. And by working through their trauma in this simulation, the soldiers that are previously unable to share this experience, they're able to eventually get used to it, right? And this is usually something that is being moderated by the therapists and the psychiatrists, so they work in accordance with that, and they are able to build an algorithm that is learning based on historical patients that are using it, at which point is too much, right? And then if it's too much, they know where to cut the simulation, and then eventually in the long run it will help the soldiers.
So if I understood correctly, the AI and the VR experience, which is simulated and controllable, provides a much better environment for exposure and prevention, which is the technique used to mitigate post-traumatic stress disorder. And this has been proven to be very effective, right? I think I read that in a matter of hours, some minor PTSD disorders can be treated. And it's amazing if you think about it, because this guy's life is deeply affected by this disease, and in a matter of a couple of hours or 3 hours of VR therapy, they can be fixed. So this is really groundbreaking technology. I know that there is more to discuss about, because when you're talking about psychology, when we're talking about mental health, there is a lot of people suffering, and if AI can be applied there to, for good, that is, that's huge, incredible value created for society. So what I suggest is that we stop here, and in the next episode we will discuss about a few examples of companies that are bringing to market AI solutions for psychology and psychotherapy.
Perfect.
Thank you, Michelle. Thanks, everybody. And please leave a comment below with questions or comments. We are always interested and we're always listening.